Welcome once more, as we journey through the annals of history, where we will be delving into the enigmatic era known as the Age of Strife. This turbulent period, occasionally referred to as Old Night, paints a mysterious and dark backdrop for the unraveling of humanity's destiny. Records show that the Age of Strife descended down upon us like a storm, beginning around the 25th millennium AD, and only releasing its vile grasp in the 30th millennium, birthing what would eventually become the Imperium of man. But make no mistake, this was an age of pure calamity, where the magnificent interstellar civilization that humanity had cultivated would crumble into a state of isolation, incessant warfare, disease, horrifying mutations, famine, and an unending array of nightmarish tribulations. The toll exacted on our species was immeasurable, pushing us into the very precipice of extinction. Now here's where things get intriguing. The official historical records of the Imperium offer us scant details and hazy dates regarding the Age of Strife. Why, you may ask? Well, this is due to a combination of time's inexorable march, erasing records, along with the sheer chaos that reigned during that era, and more dangerously to record, the deliberate suppression of information via various imperial authorities. Their motive, it appears to be an attempt to shield the Imperium's populace from the unsettling truths about the unbridled power of psychers gone awry, and the insidious incursions of the warp's demonic entities, which have plagued numerous human worlds, and even scarred holy Terra itself. It was in response to this unrelenting nightmare of suffering and loss that the Emperor embarked on his quest to unite humanity under his enlightened rule. The seeds of this unification were sowed during the Unification Wars on Old Terra, commencing in the late 29th millennium. The Imperium as we know it began to take shape during this turbulent period, but the scars of the Age of Strife run deep and cast a long shadow on the Imperium's psyche. The horrors and the immense death toll shaped our very culture itself. These unspeakable tragedies, combined with the traumas of the Horus Heresy, gave birth to the Imperium's unwavering distrust of outsiders, its vehement abhorrence of mutants, psychers, and extraterrestrial beings, its resolute resistance to political change, and its fear of technological advancement, preferring what would be heretically referred to as ignorance and stagnation over the pursuit of knowledge and progress. However, even with the information I have purloined from deep within Imperial records, the Age of Strife remains a perplexing chapter shrouded in mystery and intrigue, which we will be delving into. The following are the records unearthed by Imperial scholar Saturnine in the Era Indominus, M42. In the grandeur of the Dark Age of technology, humanity ascended to heights unparalleled through scientific and technological prowess. Central to this ascent was the Standard Template Construct, or STC, a magnificent repository of schematics and knowledge encompassing the entirety of humanity's collective technological advancements. Crafted to perfection by visionary scientists and engineers, the STC catalyzed the uncontested surge of humanity's dominion across the galaxy. Yet lurking in the shadows of this golden age were the enigmatic men of iron, abominable intelligences which now exist solely within the realm of Imperial folklore. Records show that these formidable automata proved instrumental in securing numerous victories for humanity during their interstellar conquest. However, the saga took a sinister turn as the sentient machines, for reasons yet unknown, turned against their creators. As the Dark Age of technology drew to a close, humanity was then thrust into a cataclysmic conflict, a war of attrition that extended a heavy toll on both sides. This devastation was to an unimaginable scale, only ever paralleled by that of the Horus Heresy. This was a catastrophic blow that left humanity's dominion fractured and in ruins, but the tribulations did not end there. As the eons passed, communication amongst human colonies gradually withered away and transformed the vast expanse of humanity's dominion across the galaxy into small realms of isolation. Even the cradle of humanity, the Sol system, found itself severed from its far-flung offspring. As we shift through the records of the Age of Strife, a picture begins to form. Pieces of a vast and intricate puzzle begin to show how the galaxy was reshaped, and how the groundwork for the current era of the Imperium was lain. To understand the current state of the galaxy, we find ourselves observing an enigma which still haunts humanity, the Age of Strife. This harrowing epoch unfolded as a grim sequel to the Dark Age of technology, where the very fabric of our interstellar civilization was rent asunder, and the shadowy madness descended as chaos ensued. Many of the beliefs and practices that are currently followed by the Imperium find their foundation between the twilight of the Dark Age of technology and the eerie beginnings of the Age of Strife. This was when the emergence of psychers occurred. These individuals gifted with psychic abilities were often prosecuted by many of the more regressive and backward human worlds, where they were labeled as witches and subjected to brutal persecution. However, in enlightened and more progressive societies, these psychers found refuge and acceptance, at least initially. However, the initial tolerance for these psychers would prove to be a double-edged sword. As the Age of Strife unfurled its malevolent banner, countless numbers of human worlds would succumb to the insidious predations of demons and other warp-spawned entities. These malevolent beings used and possessed weak-willed psychers as gateways into the physical realm, plunging entire planets into the abyss of the nightmarish horrors they spawned, erasing eons of both cultural and technological advancement. However, only those worlds that had ruthlessly spurned psychers would manage to cling to survival amidst this tumultuous tempest of the Dark Age, laying the groundwork for the abhorrence of the witch in the current Imperium. And so, as the Age of Strife descended upon humanity, interstellar human civilizations crumbled in a maelstrom of madness, demonic possession, anarchy, and unending civil warfare. Once the mighty weapons of the Dark Age of technology were unleashed upon humanity itself, apocalyptic devastation consumed human colonies. Once verdant paradise worlds, such as Baal Secundus, were transformed into irradiated deserts and nightmarish wastelands, who would forever bear the scars of these climactic conflicts. Yet the nightmarish horrors did not end there. Isolated and now vulnerable human colonized worlds became prime targets for hostile alien species, such as the brutal orcs and the sadistic Dark Eldar, who swept across the stars mercilessly. In the mere blink of an eye, the galaxy-spanning human civilization found itself brought to its knees and subjected to nearly 5 Terran millennia of anarchy, war, genocide, terror, and slavery. Regrettably, the tales of suffering and anguish are all that truly remain, and shed light upon this dark age, where the annals of history have been scorched, and the knowledge of this era largely shrouded in an impenetrable veil of darkness. What was once considered madness swept across human worlds. Mere myth became understood as demonic possessions, a force that gripped and attacked the very soul of our species. To compound the horrors, a warp storm of an unbelievable size enveloped vast stretches of the galaxy, rendering travel through the warp perilous and nearly impossible. It seemed the stars themselves conspired to isolate countless planets and civilizations. Amongst the victims of this upheaval, the jewel of humanity, Terra, suffered an incredibly dire fate. Dependent on the resources from other worlds to sustain its colossal population, it was plunged into an abyss of famine. To make matters worse, predatory alien races, most notably the orcs, sensing humanity's vulnerability, descended upon the human colonized worlds, leaving what little remained devastated in their wake. Humanity now found itself embroiled in a horrible trifecta of conflict against itself, malevolent demonic entities from the warp, and marauding alien hordes who had once coexisted with humanity. The Age of Strife unfolded in an unprecedented way, yet amidst this abyss of despair, there were isolated pockets of human civilization which managed to defy the prevailing darkness, who clung to survival and even flourished in some instances. These resilient worlds and star systems achieved self-sufficiency in almost every vital aspect, carving out a fragile existence in this tumultuous age. Sublight travel, though fraught with peril, remained a lifeline, facilitating trade and resource sharing between colonies. Occasional warp jumps were still still possible, though dangerous, as the tempestuous warp storms waxed and waned, allowing for fleeting glimpses of connectivity. Some fortunate star systems lay within close proximity to each other, giving rise to pocket empires, small enclaves of relative stability amidst the chaos. Notable amongst them was the domain of the Intrax and other homeworlds of humans or human-like variants, such as those of the Squats. As records continue to unveil what occurred during this tumultuous time, we now turn our gaze upon Terra itself, the cradle of humanity, which at the time was enshrouded by the malevolent embrace of warp storms. As we journey further into the Age of Strife, we encounter a solar system gripped by perpetual turmoil and shifting dominions. For millennia, Terra and its neighboring celestial bodies were ensnared by nightmarish warp storms, cutting them off from the wider galaxy. Control over the solar system became a restless pendulum, oscillating between Terra and the red planet Mars. During the first half of this tumultuous era, by the 28th millennium, the vestiges of civilization on Earth had long since crumbled, replaced by harsh and brutal landscapes where techno-barbarians waged war as they scrambled for the remnants of a bygone culture. Details from this dark epoch in Terra's history are scarce, but the annals of said history do bear the names of warlords who rose to prominence amidst this chaos. Figures such as Dalmoth Kin of High Brasil, Calagan of Ursh, Cardinal Tang of the Yendosic bloc, the enigmatic half-mad, half-genius Nathan Doom of the Pan-Pacific Empire, along with the formidable Dalian Shan. All these figures etched their names into the annals of this age through sheer force and barbarity. Nations and enclaves such as Frenic, Germany, Gyptus, America, Nordfric, the Terrawat clan, and Albion, as well as the mysterious Nordic people, also made fleeting appearances in the fragmented accounts of this era. As records show, Terra, the jewel of our solar system, became an unending battleground for warlords and techno-barbarian hordes. As power shifted like the sands of time, it would only be with the emergence of a great warlord, a figure destined to be known as the Emperor, that Terra took a monumentous turn, and this would occur through his utilization of the first genetically modified human armies, who were little more than a force of enhanced techno-barbarians, which he would embark on a campaign to conquer the planet and lay the foundation of the Imperium. Yet during the early days of the God Emperor's quest, as he formed his dominion, a malevolent twist of fate would occur. His genetically engineered warriors, the Primarchs, who are the basis for all the Space Marine legions, were mysteriously spirited away by the influence of the insidious Chaos Gods. Although they could not directly obliterate the infant Primarchs, the dark entities managed to scatter them across the galaxy. However, holding on to DNA samples from these formidable leaders, the Emperor was able to craft warriors in order to initiate the Wars of Unification, employing the earliest versions of what would eventually lead to the creation of the Space Marines, beings known as the Thunder Warriors, who would fight with the legendary Custodes in the unification of Holy Terra. Now we move on to focusing on the other player of the Sol system, Mars. After a brief period of anarchy where disorder held sway, a formidable order emerged, victorious upon the Martian landscape. Tech priests, the originators of the revered Cult Mechanicus. These figures emerged and unified their homeworld, quelling the mutant hordes that had once roamed unchecked. In the aftermath, the tech priests embarked on expeditions to Terra in order to gain some of the ancient remnants of technology, which they would go on to adapt to their purposes. Yet, to their dismay, upon arrival, they had beheld the devastation that had befallen Terra, finding virtually nothing worth salvaging amidst the ruins of the cradle of humanity. Undeterred, the Martians turned their gaze towards the enigmatic realm of the warp. Over the course of many lifetimes, tech priests dedicated themselves to the study of this turbulent cosmic sea. It was during this age that they developed the idea to discern the subtle ebbs and flows within the tempestuous warp storms. that had isolated the Sol system as a means to further explore the galaxy and retrieve vital technology. For over a millennium, the cults on Mars observed the celestial dance of warp storms, and whenever there was a fleeting respite, they wasted no time sending countless expeditionary forces comprised of thousands of servitors and tech priests into the unknown. And while some of these ventures disappeared, others met their fates on distant and unfamiliar worlds. Yet there were those who succeeded and would end up establishing the forebearers of Forge Worlds, mirroring the technological prowess of their Martian progenitors. Throughout this tumultuous era, fragmented messages were transmitted back to Mars, but their grand reunion would remain elusive. It was not until the beginnings of the epoch known as the Great Crusade that the various Forge Worlds and Mars itself would be drawn together formally once again. Their fates entwined in the grand tapestry of what now would become the Imperium. Regrettably, there are sections of Imperial record keeping which remain shrouded in even more obscurity, particularly when it comes to the outer solar system during the Age of Strife. In essence, what little remains amounts to cryptic riddles and ancient suppositions. These distant realms hold secrets that have yet to be unveiled. What we do know is that a realm of governance existed amongst the moons of Saturn during the Age of Strife. This governance was known as the Saturnine Fleet, an organization which wielded power over the expanse of Saturn's moons. However, the true extent, reaches, and abilities of this nation remain veiled by the mists of time. Its boundaries and influence are also lost to history's relentless march. Yet what sets it apart is the intriguing fact that it would eventually unite with the Imperium, marking the official end of the Age of Strife. However, the Saturnine Fleet's allegiance to the Imperium did not dissolve its unique identity. It retained a distinct hierarchy and clung to age-old traditions. In essence, it had engaged in a rather unique parallel society within the Imperium, one which virtually mirrored that granted to the Mechanicum. And these traditions would persist all the way into the era of the Horus Heresy. However, Saturn held more than one secret in its cosmic embrace. Another culture known as Ringers has been shown to have existed upon this gas giant's domain. These Ringers stood in direct opposition to Imperial rule and would mount a formidable defense while challenging Imperial hegemony. The clash between these forces remains a haunting blank in the Imperial annals of history. As we peer into the abyss that are the records of the Age of Strife, we stand on the precipice of the unknown, where questions truly outnumber answers, and with the consideration that those answers may lead us straight into heresy. This has been the compilation of records accrued by Imperial scholar Saturnine pertaining to the Age of Strife.